Here's Matt Maldonado on Madness4life News. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Matt Maldonado, your host on this Saturday edition, June 23rd, 2012, podcast number 9 on Madness4life News here in FEMA Region 9 in Las Vegas, Nevada. I'm going to be getting into CIA's in the rise of Islamist and international terrorist groups. U.S. suggests to install proxy brotherhood in Egypt. CIA support Syrian Opposition Massacres civilians. Sandusky's guilt leaves shadow over larger abuses of power. And by the way, just so everybody knows, I'm going to be doing the news, podcast news on the weekend instead of the weekdays because I'm going to be writing a film for my next project. I'm just going to leave it at that. Anyway, continuing here. Let's go one of these articles. Who's Spring by Infowars.com. Who's Spring, the CIA hand in the rise of Islamist and international terrorist groups. So they want to not necessarily make Egypt into this pro-democracy where they put in a dictator. The U.S. put in a dictator as well as other groups like the CIA, MI6, and stuff like that. Put in this dictator to have a pro-democracy, but yet it wasn't. And then they try to do pro-democracy in Egypt, and they go, "Oh, you see that? Now there's an uprising." And the dictator leaves, even though the elites actually stole his money, about billions of dollars, from France. And I believe, they put in the Muslim. They want to bring in the Muslim Brotherhood from U.S. That's the other report, but this one right here is from the CIA trying to bring in Islamic groups to destabilize the countries in Syria, Yemen, Somalia, and Libya. So anyway, let's start on this article here. The partner of Washington working in unison with multinational cross-border armed extremists. Hold on a second, I gotta move these water bottles. Okay. If the word has any meaning, terrorist has now been revealed as a global phenomenon. Rick Hazoff, U.S. implementing Afghanistan and Kosovo models for Syria. You can follow that link on this this article. The New York Times, in their article, CIA said to aid in steering arms to Syrian opposition. Excuse me. Confirms what many have already long known, that the West, led by the U.S. and its Gulf state proxies, have been arming terrorists, particularly with the Muslim Brotherhood, while branding the Syrian government for violating a UN mandate ceasefire for failing to protect its population. Oh yeah, they say that, oh, you didn't do a ceasefire. Well, we can't because these rebels, so-called rebels, which is LCIA, Al-Qaeda, the fake Al-Qaeda, they're still attacking us. We want a ceasefire. They don't want a ceasefire. They want to keep killing the population. Well, you know what? We're going to put sanctions on you. That's not going to help us. You're right, but we're just going to put sanctions on you even further and demonize you more. Anyway, continuing here, the Muslim Brotherhood has been combating by nations across the Arab world to stem the tide of their sectarian extremism, violence, and their targeted assertion of explore nation states. Ironically, the U.S., which has claimed to have been fighting the forces of sectarian extremism and terrorism for over a decade now, have been revealed as the primary enabler of the most violent and extreme terrorist organization in the world. These include, in addition to the Muslim Brotherhood, the Libyan Islamic Fighting Group LIFG in Libya, Bachi terrorist in Pakistan, and the Mossad. No, I think it's Mossad. It's MEK. Currently based in Iraq and being used as a proxy against Iran. Tony Kartlisi confirmed U.S. CIA arming terrorists in Syria. Apparently, the CIA, Mossad, and the Muslim Brotherhood are all close friends. Who loves the Muslim Brotherhood? That's another article. You can click the link here on Infowars.com. That gets into that. It is curious that the people who oppose U.S. imperialism in Iraq and criticize the Bush administration for apparent implementing world public opinion to legitimize the U.S. invasion are now supporting U.S. imperialism in Syria and defend the Obama administration's policy of regime change in that country. Yeah, because of the fact that they want to. It's like your favorite team. Oh, I'm going to go with the team that I like. Oh, I don't like Bush. It's because of him that Obama's doing the stuff that he's doing now. Even though it's ridiculous. Obama could have stopped what Bush has done, just like bankrupting the country and going to war. He could have stopped all that, but he continued it for his globalist masters. What changed? The story changed. The story that's been sold to the world is focused around a fake Syrian revolution against the current government. Liberal dupes who opposed Bush's war against Iraq on the grounds that it was an illegal war based on false intelligence are supporting Obama's war against Syria, and they feed convinced that they are on the right side of history for doing so. It is a stunning and shameless turnaround and proves that the political entity known as the left in Western politics is without honor, principles, intelligence, courage, consistency, and integrity. That is true. The left is a bunch of weak-minded sissies, as well as a bunch of hippies walking around going, don't you talk about Obama like that. Don't you do so. Well, why don't you actually stand up for liberty and freedom? No. And I'm not talking about people that are actually on the left that actually do stand up against not only Obama's stuff, but also Bush's. So I'm talking about the left that still likes what Obama's doing, even though Obama has totally destabilized the country even further than Bush. Even though this is all by design from Clinton to Bush and the other Bush, as well as Reagan and many, many others since Lyndon Johnson, even further than that, since Wilson. But anyway, I'm digressing. But yeah, the left now is it's a joke. They're a joke. That's why this right-left paradigm is just a joke in and of itself. That's why we need to go back to constitutional what was I going to say? We should go back to the Constitution and basically what our country was before. But instead, we don't want to go back in order to move forward because, hey, they say that the Constitution is too old. Well, it's only 200 years old. Freedom is only very young. It's a very young idea. Tyranny is the most oldest idea. It's been around for 10,000 years. So anyway, moving on here. Policy-wise, there is no difference that separates the Bush administration from the Obama administration in their approach to the Middle East. Regime change is the name of the game. Financing and alarming terrorists is done by the CIA, Mossad, and their Arab clients as the word go. Washington's goal is to destabilize Syria, overthrow the regime, and split Syrian society apart, just like the United States and Mexico, and many, many others. Dupes described what is happening in Syria as a revolution against a tyrant. The reality is that Washington is conducting an illegal war against Syria, is responsible for mass murder, terrorism, and Hitlerian war crimes. Contrary to popular opinion in the West, Assad is not hated by the Syrian people. There is more anti-Obama sentiment in America than there is anti-Assad sentiment in Syria. The Syrian opposition is a mysterious composition. It consists of a small collection of monasteries, finance foreign fighters, and Syrian extremists. I don't know why I can't read all this stuff, but that happens. I'm a little tired because I stayed up all last night just to write 4 or 5 pages of my script. Ridiculous. Anyway, digressing again. Armed, funded, and directed by foreign interests solely to wreak havoc within Syria, writes Tony Sunni, whatever. I can't even say that name. The NATO-backed terrorist gangs and fanatical murderers are causing chaos in Syria. Every freedom-loving individual in the world should stay clear of the falsely labeled Free Syrian Army like the plague. The Western establishment media is playing the most evil role in the Syrian war. Washington is waging its war against Syria under a thick layer of propaganda smoke provided by government-controlled media channels and newspapers. As part of its largest criminal effort to change the regime in Syria, Washington is spreading false information through Washington and Arab media outlets to discredit Assad as a viable leader. It is using propaganda in an attempt to brainwash the West into believing that the violence in Syria is the result of the regime's response to democratic protest, not NATO's Malthusian destabilization campaign and acts of terrorism. Washington's most previous allies in the war against Syria are the very same international terrorist groups that is warns are dangerous to the West and pose a considerable threat to the security of the United States. They include Al-Qaeda, the Muslim Brotherhood, sophist terrorists, and other scumbags who love to kill women and children in the name of Islam. Not only kill them, but rape them and put them up and hang them and say, see, you guys want to oppose us? Well, guess what? We're going to hang you. as high as the Washington Monument. And by the way, the U.S. funds us. But hey, they're fighting Al-Qaeda. That's why it's admitted the war on terror is over, and the war on you has just begun. That's why they have drones in the air, checkpoints everywhere, TSA on the streets, just total bedlam. And it's just going to keep getting worse. Anyway, watch this video that shows one of NATO's cold-blooded killers shooting an innocent Syrian civilian, excuse me, at point-blank range. You can actually find that video on Infowars.com. Just click the link. It goes to disquiet resolution. And it's on YouTube. Just type in Syrian execution of a pro-Assad. Just click that. It was right in there. See, direct execution of a pro-Assad civilian. His head was blown up. Yep. But hey, they're good people. Yeah, we need to put them in charge. Really good. Defenseless women and children are being killed across Syria is a similar matter of other Western armed terrorists who belong to the Syrian opposition. It may appear to the Western public that Assad is hated inside Syria due to the artfulness of Washington's propaganda, but this is an illusion. The truth on the ground is more complicated, and popular revolution is not taking place in Syria. Instead, the CIA, NATO, the Arab monarchs, the Israeli government, and international terrorist groups have teamed up to wage an illegal war against Syria. You find that at Infowars.com. Let's try to go to the next one. U.S. struggles to install proxy brotherhood in Egypt. How much more time do I have? Okay, I'm only gonna do this for like 30 minutes, I believe. Yeah, I'm gonna try to do 30 minutes. Right now I'm on minute 17, so let me try to rush through this as much as I can. I'm only gonna go to right there, only a couple paragraphs, so you get an idea of what I'm reading here. Where anyone is still believe the retract of the so-called Arab Spring, one would admittedly confuse over the emerging political landscape in Egypt, where the military establishment and the Muslim Brotherhood have emerged from what was supposedly a pro-democracy, popular uprising. However, if anyone understood that the pro-democracy protesters were in fact U.S. State Department funded, trained, and equipped mobs providing cover for the attempting installation of the Muslim Brotherhood amongst many other potential Western proxies, the current political battle would make perfect sense. The Egyptian military, like in many developing nations, have accepted money from the West, may train with Western forces, and may even partake in Western militants of global domination, but are ultimately nationalist with the means of motivation to draw lines and check the West's can't even say that word. That happens when I read. Abolition? No, it's abdication. Abdication within Egypt and throughout Egypt's sphere of influence. The necessity of the West of removing not only Mubarak, who had refused to partake in the wider role against Iraq and Iran, but the grip of the military itself over Egyptian politics, and replacing it with the Muslim Brotherhood, who is already hard at work in Syria attempting to overthrow one of Iran's primary regional allies in Paramount. Pro-democracy movements, particularly the April 6th youth movement, you can find that link there. It goes to landdestroyer.blogspot.com. Go to that one. It's fake revolutions. The debate is over. The revolutions are fake. The people behind them are funded by the Western world, as well as Britain and many, many others, like MI6 and stuff like that. All right, moving on here. Trained, funded, and equipped by the U.S. State Department, serve the sole purpose of giving the Muslim Brotherhood's installation into power a spin of legitimacy, where otherwise non-existent. Those within these pro-democracy movements with legitimate intentions will be eventually disappointed, if not entirely thrown under the wheels of Western machinations, Masic nations, I don't know, as regional war aimed at destroying Iran, Syria, and Lebanon's has of influence slowly unfolds. Yeah, so it continues from there. I'm going to stop from there. It goes into Muslim Brotherhood were, are, and will be Western proxies. It goes into that. It goes into another one too. Where is that? Libya, Egypt, Syria, and beyond, and to form a united front against Iran. Weakening Egypt before NATO's assault on Libya was a step. I can't go into that crap. I don't have the time. But yeah, you can find that at Infowars.com. Just click it. Just type in U.S. struggles to install proxy Brotherhood in Egypt. What's next? Syria supported Syrian Opposition Massacres civilians. So this is another one. And it shows the Syrian rebels massacre prisoners in one of the counties. This is from Kurt Nemo of Infowars.com. Direct support of the Free Syrian Army, the FSA, by Saudi Arabia, Qatar, the CIA, MI6, Mossad, and the U.S. and British military is apparently having the result the mass murder of civilian supporters of the government in Syria. On Friday, the Syrian news agency SANA reported that at least 25 people were killed and their bodies mutilated by the FSA, or an associated terrorist group in northern Syria. The victims were abducted Darat Izzeh in the Aleppo province. The terrorist group in Darat committed a brutal massacre against these citizens whom they had kidnapped earlier in the day. Sene said the story were virtually ignored by the establishment media in the United States. On Wednesday, a diplomat at the United Nations, Major General Robert Mode, praised the FSA for its efficacy. Mode is a Norwegian Major General and heads up the United Nations peacekeeping supervision mission in Syria. He suspended operations because Syria insisted on there we go, maintaining its sovereignty. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton told Charles Ross earlier in the week that the United States is working with the FSA and other opposition groups and attempting to turn them into a force capable of overthrowing the al-Assad regime. We're also working very hard to try to prop up and organize the opposition. We're spent a lot of time on that. It's still a work in progress, she said. The CIA is now publicly admits it is working with the FSA. It is providing automatic rifles, rocket grenades, there's illumination, and some anti-tank weapons to the FCA. According to a report published by the New York Times, the Times said the CIA is considering providing satellite imagery and other detailed intelligence on Syrian troops, locations, and movements to the FSA. FSA. The State Department has authorized $15 million in non-lethal aid to civilian opposition groups in Syria, according to the report. In 1987, the former CIA station chief in Anglia in 1976, John Stockwell, said the CIA is responsible for tens of thousands of covert actions and destabilization programs since it was created by Congress with the passage of the Nation Security Act of 1947. At the time, Stockwell estimated that over 6 million people had died in CIA covert actions. Wow. That is very interesting. Of course they're going to work with the terrorist groups in Syria. You know, it's admitted. It's admitted the fact that they gave Al-Qaeda Libya. They're trying to give Al-Qaeda Syria. They're going to give Al-Qaeda Yemen next. And then they're probably going to attack, if they can attack Iran, they might attack Saudi Arabia. That is involved in also working with Al-Qaeda and the United States and propping up Al-Qaeda. But hey, that's okay. Let's move on here. I have basically 2 minutes to go, but I'm just going to rush through these very fast. This is the last one. Sandusky's guilt leaves shadow over large abuse of power. Now this one, you know, it's very interesting that they arrest this guy for molesting children when, first of all, he is involved, and it's been admitted that he's been involved in a lot of giving children to, like, rich people, young boys, and people laugh about it like it's funny. Well, first of all, it's not funny. These other people should be arrested, and the people that were aiding and abetting in the fact that they saw him do this stuff, and his organization, he still has his organization going and stuff like that. You know, they should stop him from ever being involved in the organization, because that's why this stuff got started in the first place. They should first also arrest those other people for aiding and abetting his crimes, as well as allowing him to keep doing it for, what, 15, 20 years? It was like so long, and everybody cheering him. What's going to happen to the games of football games? You know, you remember that? Yeah, that's aiding and abetting too, by the way. You know, we are in just a sick culture of just these weird freaks of just like, what's going to happen to the football game? What's going to happen to the baseball games? It's like, who cares? Your country's failing right now. What about the children that he raped? Yeah, let's not talk about that. See, back then, if somebody saw you do that, they would literally kill you. That's why they always like to get mad at the founding fathers, because George Washington would kill you if he saw you do that. Why am I going off into that? Well, people think that the founding fathers were not moral. They are. Yes, they had problems, but not all of them were not moral. Most of them were. But hey, let's keep calling them a bunch of slave traders and stuff like that. But that, even though that's false history, but that's okay, because they're going to keep bringing in false history throughout the high schools and then middle schools and stuff like that. Anyway, continuing here. This is from Infowars.com. Sandusky's guilt leaves shadow over large abuses of power. Even though I already said that, I'm saying it again. Justice has been done for now, but who will pursue the trail of bigger devils? The people that still get little children from that very university. But hey, that's okay. Let's continue here. The no, that's not execution. See what happens when I'm reading here? Can't even read this freaking word. See, I can't even talk. The execution against held head coach execution. I can't say it. Against healed coach Jerry Sandusky shocked the world. I'm going to get this right. Here we go. I'm going to try to get this right. But now a jury has found him guilty of 45 of 48 counts related to sexual abuse with children he had promised to help through his organization. He is convinced his sentence is effectively prison for life. Ooh, yeah. They call that justice. I'm sorry. But when you give someone death, that's justice. Okay? But not when the government's going to do that death sentence. It should be for the people. That's why you should have it where it's to the people, by the people. Because that dude would have been hung if that would have happened either in the West back in the olden days. But this ain't the olden days, Matt. This ain't the olden days. That's why we need to go back to the olden days. I'm sorry, but you need to. In order to move forward, we have to go back. We have to go back to where we were before, where it was always the communities involved, not only in politics as well as the lawmakers. They were the ones that were in charge of their cities. They were the ones that were in charge of their sheriffs. The sheriff usually knew everybody. Now the sheriffs are just a bunch of punks that just want to start to get all tough and be all masculine, beating on people for no reason. Yes, there are some sheriffs that actually are very nice. There are also there's cops that actually are very nice. But nowadays it's just total weirdism and total just this gang culture of just total pot-belly idiots running around, just really weird. And it's just going to get even worse, especially if Mitt Romney gets in. All right, continuing here. I'm already going over my time, but that's fine. But does this close the Penn State investigation? Now that Sandusky has been thoroughly convicted, guilty of child abuse, will authorities pursue the reports of other involved in a sex ring show how tied to the university? They won't go into it. If they do, that would be a very big shocker. People have also blew the whistle on the UN. You think they went after the UN? A little bit, but not really that much. They almost killed the people that did the whistleblowers, especially the drug trafficking rings that they did in the UN. Well, what's this have to do with the universities? Well, when you have that type of power, when you have that type of organization and they allow that stuff to happen, it's going to continue to keep going until someone says, hey, this has to stop. Just like some people that actually stood forward and said, yeah, he was raping those kids, but you saw for 15 years. Why didn't you speak up? I don't know. I didn't think nothing about it. Like, what? What? Then you're aiding and abetting. You should be arrested too. But hey, I'm still digressing. I'm still going off in a tangent because this is so stupid. This is why I have to take a break from doing a weekly podcast because it's literally driving me crazy. And they said, hey, you should just quit. It's just like, no, this is liberty and freedom that I'm going to talk about. And film and art is actually my love, so I want to write a film. That's probably why I'm doing a hiatus. And I'm trying to develop a show, which is going to take me forever. Anyway, continuing here. It will go on for Sandusky, of course. Who will appeal the decision but the others? The radio station NESN gave a chilling report at the time, clearly raising questions about possible higher-ups connected to this case. A reputed... Hold on. All right. Where was I? Oh, come on, Matt. Pay attention, boy. The radio station NCSN gave a chilling report at the time, clearly raising questions about possible higher-ups connected to this case. A reputed ring of abusers when allegations popped up as the university to, it seems like a larger scandal was emerging, but that mostly died down. The larger crime was not unearthed. Beloved coach Joe Pardino passed away just months after stepping down as coach in the fallout over looking the other way in the scandal. However, he may have known about the powerful donor types that could have been involved. He will bring this case no further information. It seems the claims that children had been pimped out to rich donors seem all but forgotten. Will those people continue their crimes unstopped and unpunished? Sadly, history shows us a pattern of criminal decadence among many of the most powerful leaders of the world, who assume immediate and only rare face accountability. Wow. And it goes in through the links. It goes through all this research and stuff like that. You can click on Jerry Sandusky, rumored to have been pimping out young boys to rich donors, which I have read. It reads about other rich people like taking little children and stuff like that. It's just really weird. Institutional pedophilia ring now stretches to I don't know the name of that university basketball program. Media ignores Santorum's support for accused child molester Sandusky. Oh yeah, you remember that? You remember when he says like, yeah, you know, he should be freed. Oh, he should be freed. You know, he's not a bad guy. I met him. It's like, what? You know him? Yes, I do. And I have children. Whoa. That's pretty bad. That's probably why he dropped out. But anyway, I'm going to end it right here. And remember, you can find those at Infowars.com. You can follow me at YouTube.com. Just type in Madness4life. YouTube.com/Madness4life. Facebook.com. Just search Madness4life News. As well as Vimeo.com and Planet Infowars. Planet.infowars.com. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, and please subscribe to the videos and comment, and I will see you tomorrow, and have a great day, and God bless America. And remember, united we stand, divided we fall.